Before you learn math, you learn fear of money, and it still drives your choices today. Have you ever wondered why you feel the way you do about money? Long before you solved your first math problem, you were absorbing powerful lessons about money, lessons often rooted in fear. In fact, before you learned math, you learned fear of money. Those early experiences still cast a shadow over your financial decisions today. Psychologists even have a name for these deep-seated beliefs: money scripts, unconscious assumptions about money that usually form in childhood. These scripts can drive some of us to fear money, avoiding financial decisions or hoarding every penny, and drive others to worship money, chasing it obsessively as the ultimate goal. Today, we'll explore how childhood programming around money creates these traumas and unhealthy scripts, and more importantly, how to identify and reframe those toxic beliefs to heal your relationship with money. Childhood programming, scarcity, shame, and secrecy. Imagine a little girl lying awake at night, overhearing her parents behind a wall, whispering about overdue bills and not having $200 for the rent. She's too young to grasp the details, but she feels the fear in their voices. Fast forward 25 years, that girl is now an adult, and every time she sees an envelope with a bill, her heart races. She often can't even bring herself to open them, because the mere sight of a due bill sends her into panic. From a very young age, we all absorb messages about money. Family sayings and behaviors become our mental scripts. Money doesn't grow on trees. We don't talk about money in this house. We can't afford that. Don't even ask. Sound familiar? Such phrases might seem harmless or practical, but to a child, they are formative. Some of us were taught that money was scarce, unpredictable, or impolite to talk about. And all of these messages shape our financial habits and behavior. Childhood is essentially a training ground for our money mindset. Kids might not understand interest rates or budgets, but they learn emotional lessons, whether money is safe or dangerous, empowering or shameful. If money was always a source of conflict or fear in your home, you likely internalize those feelings. 3 common themes in childhood money programming are scarcity, shame, and secrecy. Scarcity is the belief that there's never enough. Kids who constantly heard about lack, "we have no money," often grow into adults with a persistent fear of poverty or a compulsion to either hoard or overspend when they have money. Shame enters when children feel that money problems are a reflection of personal failure or moral weakness. For instance, if a child senses their parents are ashamed when discussing money, the child might conclude that needing money or not having it is something to hide. This can plant a deep-seated insecurity: "I'm not enough, I'm helpless," in the face of money troubles. Secrecy is the lesson that money should not be openly discussed. Maybe your family treated money as a taboo topic, never telling you how much things cost or hiding financial stress from the kids. As well-intentioned as the silence may be, it sends a message that money is mysterious or even forbidden to talk about. Children are remarkably observant. Even if parents never explicitly talk about money, kids pick up on the emotional climate. If every conversation about finances turns into a fight or ends in tears, a child learns to associate money with conflict and pain. On the other hand, if a parent's eyes light up when talking about a big payday or showing off a new purchase, a child might learn that money is tied to self-worth or happiness. The point is, those early impressions don't stay in childhood. Research shows that money scripts learned in childhood can shape your adult financial behaviors. We carry these scripts unconsciously, often not realizing our attitudes were inherited. Financial anxiety and money shame. The adult consequences. Once we grow up, those childhood money messages often bloom into anxiety, stress, or shame around finances. Money is actually one of the biggest sources of stress for many people. About half of American adults say financial worries have affected their mental health. Yet, a lot of folks suffer in silence, too ashamed to share their money fears, even with loved ones. Why the secrecy? Because money shame is powerful. We're taught that talking about money is taboo, or that struggling with money means you're a failure, so people bottle it up. They might secretly believe, "I'm just not good enough," or "I'll never get it right," based on those old messages. But hiding financial problems only adds to the stress. It's like trying to hold an inflated balloon underwater. The pressure just builds. Carrying this shame, a person might feel undeserving of financial success or hide their money struggles, even from those closest to them. Financial anxiety and money shame are heavy burdens, and they often show up as self-sabotaging behaviors. One common response is avoidance. Some people cope by simply not dealing with money at all. It sounds counterintuitive. How can ignoring money problems possibly help? It doesn't, but it's a psychological escape. Remember our opening story of the woman who panics at envelopes? Money avoiders live by the mantra, "If I don't think about it, it can't hurt me." They might delay doing taxes, leave bills unopened, or dodge budgeting because every time they face money, it triggers anxiety. Of course, neglecting finances usually makes things worse in the long run, but in the moment, it feels safer to stick your head in the sand. Meanwhile, other people respond by trying to control every penny, letting their money anxiety drive them to micromanage or hoard their finances obsessively. Picture someone who checks their bank balance multiple times a day or refuses to spend even on basic needs because parting with money ignites panic. This person might have grown up in a scarcity environment, never certain if there would be food on the table or lights on next month. and now as an adult, they cannot shake the fear of running out. They might accumulate savings or possessions to feel secure, but never truly feel safe enough to enjoy what they have. Psychologists describe some people as having a scarcity mindset, essentially a chronic fear of not having enough that stems from earlier deprivation. Paradoxically, studies suggest that adults who carry a scarcity mindset can end up making poorer financial choices. For instance, overspending impulsively when they do get money, because deep down they don't trust that it will still be there tomorrow. Money scripts. 4 common personality types. Psychologists often refer to these subconscious money beliefs as money scripts. We can think of them in terms of common money personalities: the spender, the hoarder, the avoider, and the martyr. 1. The spender. The spender loves to live large, or at least look like they are. As an adult, the spender is the one who isn't afraid to shell out for the latest phone, the fancy dinners, the generous gifts. But underneath the confident swiping of the credit card, there's often a deeper psychological script. Many spenders grew up feeling deprived or unimportant, and they learned to use money as a way to feel worthy, powerful, or happy. Imagine a boy who grew up in a home where money was always tight. He wore hand-me-down clothes and watched classmates get new bikes and video games while he went without. Perhaps he felt embarrassed, even jealous, for not having nice things. Fast forward, that boy is now a man who equates spending with freedom and self-esteem. When he gets his paycheck, there's a voice in his head insisting, "I deserve this. I refuse to feel poor again." Spenders often fear deprivation. Deep down, they're afraid of going back to feeling like that kid who had nothing. So when they have money, there's an urge to use it now, because who knows if tomorrow it'll be gone. They might also be seeking validation from others. Expensive gifts or flashy purchases can be a way to say, "Look, I'm successful. I'm not that poor kid anymore." The downside, of course, is that spenders can get trapped in cycles of debt or regret. They may have lots of stuff and fun experiences, but also maxed out credit cards and little savings. Ironically, the very fear that drives them, the fear of not having enough or not being enough, can become a self-fulfilling prophecy, since overspending keeps them from building true financial security. If you see yourself in the spender, remember that no purchase will ever fill a deeper need for worth or security. You are enough without the status symbols. Enjoy your money in moderation, treat yourself, but not at the expense of your future. The hoarder, also known as the saver, or in extreme cases, the miser, is the person who finds immense comfort in accumulating money or resources and a lot of anxiety in spending them. If you're the hoarder, you probably have a rock-solid budget, a growing savings account, and you're the one who always finds the best deal or coupon. On the surface, being a saver is great. Financial prudence is a virtue. But for hoarders, the healthy habit of saving can tip into an unhealthy fear of spending. They may deprive themselves or their family of even reasonable comforts or investments, because parting with money triggers panic. Where does this come from? Often the hoarder's script is rooted in scarcity and fear. Perhaps as a child, this person lived through a financial trauma or instability. For example, consider a girl whose parents lost their jobs during a recession. She watched them scramble to keep the lights on and put food on the table. There were no extras, just constant scrimping and uncertainty. The lesson she learned was clear. Money can disappear at any moment, and when it does, it's devastating. As an adult, she cannot shake the feeling that any expense could be the one that ruins her. Hoarders feel anxiety about making bad financial decisions or losing money, so their reaction is to clutch tightly to what they have. They often never feel truly secure no matter how much they save, living in a mindset of scarcity, even if the bank account is healthy. Loved ones might feel frustrated that the hoarder never wants to enjoy life, even when they can afford to. The irony is that by never spending or by treating every dollar like it's life or death, hoarders are still controlled by money, or rather, by the fear of losing it. If you recognize this hoarder mindset in yourself, remember that money's purpose is to support your life, not simply to be guarded. No amount of savings will ever eliminate the fear by itself. Only addressing that fear can bring true security. 3. The avoider. The avoider is someone who deals with money by not dealing with it. This person feels so intimidated or overwhelmed by finances that they try to tune it out completely. If you're an avoider, you might relate to habits like letting bills pile up unopened, procrastinating on budgeting, or ignoring your bank balance until something bounces. You aren't necessarily bad at math or incapable of handling money. It's more about the emotional weight that money matters carry. For many avoiders, money is stress. So their subconscious solution is, if I don't look at it, I won't stress. Often avoiders grew up in homes where money was a source of conflict or stress. Perhaps every discussion about money turned into a shouting match. So you learn to dread those conversations and associate money with anxiety. Or maybe money was treated as a complete taboo, never spoken of, leaving you clueless and fearful when it comes to finances. Either way, you likely internalize the idea that money is overwhelming and maybe even evil. If you internalize the idea that money causes fights or wanting money makes you greedy, it's no surprise that as an adult, you shy away from financial matters. Neglecting your financial life can have serious consequences. Missed bills, mounting debt. But in the moment, avoidance feels safer than facing potential pain. If you see yourself in the avoider, Know that this script doesn't mean you're lazy or irresponsible. It's often a reaction to feeling powerless or uneducated about money. The first step to change is facing the fear in small doses. Try setting up short, regular money check-ins with yourself. Even a monthly money date to review your budget can help desensitize the anxiety. You might also educate yourself bit by bit. For example, read one personal finance article a week to replace the fear of the unknown with knowledge. Over time, that monster in the shadows of financial avoidance will shrink when you finally shine a light on it, and the cycle of fear can begin to break. 4. The martyr. The martyr, sometimes called the money caretaker, is a less talked about money script, but it's very real. Martyrs view money primarily through the lens of sacrifice and duty. They tend to give, help, or rescue others financially, often at the expense of their own financial well-being. If you're the martyr, you might be the one who always picks up the check even when you can't afford it, or loans money to friends and family knowing you likely won't get it back, or you stay in low-paying jobs or undercharge for your work because you feel guilty earning too much. The martyr script often sounds like, I'm responsible for taking care of everyone else, even if I suffer. This behavior can stem from childhood experiences as well. Perhaps you grew up with a parent who was generous to a fault. Maybe they bailed out relatives or friends, or you frequently saw your mom or dad deprive themselves so that others could have enough. You could have interpreted that as good people always put others first, even with money. Maybe love in your family was expressed through material giving or buying love, teaching you to equate money with affection and care. As adults, martyrs can fall into unhealthy patterns like financial enabling, continuously rescuing someone from their own bad money habits, or chronically undervaluing their own needs. There's often a sense that by sacrificing, martyrs gain control or validation. They need to be needed, and giving money to others makes them feel important or powerful. Unfortunately, this script can lead to resentment and burnout. The martyr may eventually feel used or unappreciated, or wake up to find their own finances in shambles because they were so busy saving others. If you see yourself in the martyr, remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. Taking care of your own financial well-being isn't selfish. It ultimately puts you in a better position to help others without harming yourself. Identifying and reframing toxic money beliefs. By now, you might recognize parts of your own money story in these descriptions. Perhaps you saw a bit of yourself in the anxious hoarder, or cringed at the avoider's pile of unopened bills, or realized you've been a martyr to your family. Don't panic, you're not alone, and more importantly, you're not stuck this way forever. The great thing about scripts in life or in movies is that they can be rewritten. As one therapist noted, we do not have to remain mere protagonists in a story written by our past. We can become the authors of a new financial story. In other words, you have the power to change your money mindset once you're aware of it. The first step is awareness. You can't fix what you don't see. Start by reflecting on your own childhood money memories and how they might be influencing you today. One practical exercise is to keep a money journal for a little while. Jot down your financial decisions and, importantly, your emotions and thoughts around those decisions. Look for patterns linked to your childhood experiences. For example, do you overspend when you're upset because buying something cheered you up as a kid? Do you avoid investment opportunities because you remember your parents losing money in the market? These reflections shine a light on the script that might be running in the background. Next, identify the core belief in those situations. Ask yourself, what story am I telling myself about money here? Maybe it's, I spend as soon as I have money because I'm afraid it'll disappear. Or, I can't talk about money because it always leads to conflict. Write it down in plain words. Seeing it laid out can be eye-opening. You might realize this belief sounds unreasonable or overly harsh when you articulate it. Now comes the crucial part, reframing. Challenge that old belief and replace it with a healthier one. If your script was, if I budget, I'll feel deprived and miserable, reframe it as, a budget will ensure I have money for what matters. It gives me freedom, not limits. If you've been telling yourself talking about money only causes fights, you might reframe it as, talking openly about money can actually prevent misunderstandings and reduce stress. In therapy terms, you're disputing the irrational belief and substituting a more rational, positive one. One expert suggests literally asking yourself, what could be an alternative script or adaptive behavior I could use in this situation? By doing this, you're essentially telling that inner child who formed the belief, thanks for trying to protect me, but I've got this now. We're going to handle things differently. Besides self-reflection, don't hesitate to seek outside help. Sometimes an objective perspective is invaluable. Financial therapists or counselors are trained to help people work through money, shame, and trauma, often using techniques from cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and narrative therapy to help rewrite those money stories. Even speaking with a financially savvy friend or a support group can start breaking the isolation and secrecy. The key is to break the silence. Once you start talking about your money fears or habits, you take away some of their power and open yourself to learning new approaches. Healing your relationship with money. Reframing your beliefs is not a one-time event, but an ongoing journey. Think of it as gradually editing the script of a play you've been acting out for years. It takes practice and patience. Alongside the mindset shifts, try small actions that counter your old patterns. For example, a chronic spender can practice a 24-hour waiting rule before buying non-essentials. while a money avoider might schedule a weekly money date to get more comfortable looking at finances. A hoarder who never spends on fun could make a point to treat themselves in a small way, and a martyr could practice saying no or letting others handle their own problems occasionally. These little experiments will solidify your new beliefs through experience. Remember that setbacks are normal. When an old money fear creeps back, pause and reassert your new perspective instead of judging yourself. Picture for yourself what a healthier relationship with money looks like. Maybe it's checking your bank account without anxiety, or calmly talking budget with your partner. Keep that ideal in mind as your North Star and motivation. Your past shaped you, but it doesn't have to define you. The money fears or compulsions you learned in childhood were understandable responses to old situations. But you're not that child anymore. Now, you can teach your brain a new lesson. Money isn't a monster to fear nor a trophy to worship, but simply a tool you can manage. By recognizing your money trauma and rewriting those scripts, you're telling your younger self, hey, we got this now. It may take time and practice, but step by step, you can build a healthier money story, one where you are in control and money serves you, not the other way around.